Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to NFL Thoughts. So, let's talk about our NFL Week 9 predictions. So, first game, Eagles versus Texans. You know, it's like, I knew it was going to happen. I knew that this was going to happen. Like, I knew sooner rather than later, like the Eagles were going to start, somewhat playing down to their competition. And as I, just said, they did play down to their competition. And don't let the final score fool you. While they did win by 12 points, this, believe it or not, was a battle. All right, and for those of you who actually were able to have the ability to watch the game, then you know what I'm talking about. But nonetheless, Eagles are still undefeated, and being the fact that the Bills lost to the Jets on Sunday, I have no choice but to put you guys number one, as far as how I feel about the teams, in the NFL. I have no choice but to put you number one in the power rankings. I literally have no choice because the Bills will get to you. Colts versus the Patriots. This game was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was going to be a slaughterhouse. When you see rookie quarterbacks going up against Bill Belichick, just don't mix. It's like mixing baking soda with vinegar. Alright? It's not a very good combination. Like, you can't put a rookie quarterback on the same field as a NFL head coach like Bill Belichick. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Packers versus Lions. Packers. Why? There was absolutely no reason why you should have lost this game. This was supposed to be your get-right game. And if you expect that get-right game to come against us this Sunday, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to say no on that. This was supposed to be your game that you were supposed to get things back on track and then lose to an elite football team and then go on to turn your season around after that. Now, the chances of that happening are slim to none. And if we don't beat the Packers by at least 3 touchdowns, the game is a disappointment. So, because Aaron Rodgers played poorly. He played bad. And when I mean he played bad, man. Alright, Rodgers was not a bad man in this game. No, he just played bad, man. So, with that being said, Lions did nothing to really win this game, but the Packers did everything to lose this game. And that's basically the bottom line as far as how I can explain this. Chargers versus Falcons. Okay. I thought the Falcons were going to win this game. I felt like the Chargers just, have been struggling as of late. But Falcons, y'all falconed this game. Y'all really did. It started when you had a 10-0 lead and you allowed the Chargers to climb back in it and make that a 14-10 ball game at halftime. And then it happened again when it was 17-17 late in the fourth and Marcus Mariota, you had a wide open Kyle Pitts, and you overthrew the son of a. I mean, it is what it is, man. You know, like, that should have been touchdown, should have been a big play at least, and you got nothing. It's like Willy Wonka, you know, in the chocolate factory. You get nothing, sir. Good day to you, sir. Nonetheless, yeah, so I didn't get this one right. And, well, it is what it is. So that is 2 straight that I got wrong. After starting off good with picking the Eagles, picking the Patriots, and then we took some L's, picking the Packers and Falcons. And it's only going to get worse. Because then Josh Allen and the Bills decided to struggle at the wrong possible time. And don't get me wrong, the Jets have now made me a believer that they might be legit. But I mean, man, Bills, I did not expect this. More importantly, Josh Allen, I didn't expect it to be just barely over 200 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Yes, he had a couple nice rushing touchdowns, but man, those 2 interceptions were bad. Those 2 interceptions were bad. And they wound up basically leading to a Jets victory. Sauce Gardner is one of the best young cornerbacks in the NFL. And, you know, he's only a rookie. That's the thing. Like, he's only a rookie. And he's already playing this well. Nonetheless, Jets won this game. And like I said, they might just very well be legit. And they are 6-3. Who would have thunk it that the Bills at this point right now are only a half game behind the Jets? Are only a half game ahead of the Jets in the division. They're in first place and whatever, but who would have expected this? Nonetheless, that's a third one in a row that we got wrong. So let's get on to the next. Vikings versus Commanders. This was the most 2022 Minnesota Vikings kind of game. A game where they struggled. They played very underwhelming. They fell behind 17-7 in the fourth quarter. And then they managed to rally and win that game with Greg Joseph kicking a game-winning field goal to win 20-17. Again, vintage 2022 Minnesota Vikings type of game. They're 7-1, but at times they play like a 4-4 team. You know? And to think that Kirk Cousins right now statistically is having his worst season of his time here in Minnesota, but yet the Vikings are off to their best start that they've ever had under Kirk Cousins here in Minnesota. They're winning games, you know, but you can only think how long can this magic pixie dust that the Minnesota Vikings have apparently, been having on their team, how long is it going to last? Nonetheless, a win is a win, and they are 7-1, the second best record in the NFL. Panthers versus Bengals. You know, the Bengals are funny. They're really funny. They'll play like world beaters one week, and then they'll turn around and just completely not show up the very next week. This is the same team who was dominant. This was the same team that literally, they literally were just coming off of a win against the Atlanta Falcons, where Joe Burrow threw for nearly 500 yards. And then the next week after that, on Halloween against the Cleveland Browns, they get blown out 32-13. And then they come back this week on this past Sunday, and they beat the Panthers 42-21. It's hard to get a clear fix on the Cincinnati Bengals, but nonetheless, we know what they're capable of. They just got to start playing more consistent like it. But nonetheless, there's another one we got right. Raiders, Jaguars. Ho. Raiders. Oh my gosh. Raiders. Come sit down here. Come sit down right here. All right. Let's talk for a second. Let's talk for a second. So, 20-0 against the Cardinals, week 2. 17-0 in the second quarter against the Chiefs. Those two were bad, but this is rock bottom. I'm looking at the score in the first half when I was in the middle of watching the Vikings and Commanders game, and I see you're up 17-0. And I'm thinking to myself, finally. Thank you, Raiders. Thank you. And then you proceed to blow a 17-point lead and lose 27-20. I told you. I literally told you. Do not make me regret this pick. I swear, man. This is literally the most ridiculous team I've ever seen in my life. And I don't mean that in a good way. I don't mean that in a way of, man, this team is ridiculous. All right? Well, when you say ridiculous, that never is a good thing. But, oh my gosh, this team is ridiculous. This team is horrendous. They literally, you look at the final scores of these games, and they're in every single one of them. Except for the Saints-Raiders last week. But they're in like every single one of them. They're in every single one of them. And then you look at the game and you realize this team had a chance. They had a fighting chance to win this game. But then somehow, some mother fluffing way, they find a way to lose that game. This isn't even my team. I'm not even a Raiders fan. But, oh my gosh, this is bad. You got Devontae Adams on offense. You got Chandler Jones on defense. You're coming back with the same roster that you had last year to get to the playoffs. I actually thought that Josh McDaniels, I actually thought this second go-around he was going to redeem himself. That time that he was the Denver Broncos head coach and he looked promising with a 6-0 start and then just proceeded to crap the bed the rest of the year. And then, I don't know. But nonetheless, it happened. And it's like, okay, get that out of your system. You had 11 freaking years to finally get it together and you would actually know how to be a competent head coach. But you're not. You are still trash. You are still going to be unemployed again this year, and then freaking you're gonna be begging on your knees. You're gonna be begging on your knees, pleading for Bill Belichick and the Patriots to freaking bring you back as an offensive coordinator. And then you are gonna probably somehow, some way pull that off, and then, well, I guess all is right with the world. But this guy is just not a head coach. He's not an NFL head coach. He's just not. And with that being said, Jacksonville Jaguars, this might have been your best victory in a long, long time. Since beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in a playoff game back in 2017. Because just when everybody thought that you were going to lose, just when it looked like the Raiders were kicking you while you're down, they came back and they won the game 27-20. So all this about Trevor Lawrence and that he's not clutch, he clearly left that and laid that aside to the bed in this game right here. So Jaguars, I'm gonna say it. You might have your franchise quarterback. You just need him to develop. You need to give him a little more support. Give him a little more support, and I promise you, he can be, your franchise QB. Raiders, again, it is what it is. I have nothing to say to you anymore. This is pathetic. Dolphins versus Bears. Hey, Dolphins versus Bears. What a great game. That game was incredible. It was an exciting game. I did a reaction video to that. If you want to watch it, well then I'll put a link in the description below. I did a reaction video to the Eagles versus Texans game. If you want to watch that game, I will put the link in the description below. Or, just go to my recent videos and you'll probably see those, pop up. But nonetheless, it was a good game. I thought the Bears were going to win. I thought that the Bears were the much more physical team. But, we now are, realizing the obvious that the Bears don't have a defense. The Dolphins don't have a defense either. And I don't know how long they can keep this up without having a running game or a defense, knowing that we are now in the second half of the season, and it's that run defense, and it's that rushing attack and that defense that normally gets you through down the stretch. How long can they keep this up? Just like the Vikings. But nonetheless, Justin Fields, he looks like a really good quarterback. I'm not going to lie to you. He looks like a really good quarterback. He just needs a defense, and this team can maybe go some places. Seahawks versus Cardinals. Cardinals, they're looking like a dysfunctional family right now. Kyler Murray yelling at DeAndre Hopkins. Cliff Kingsbury trying to break it up. He can't break it up. And, they just look like a dysfunctional family. Who would have thought that at this time right now, the Arizona Cardinals were just coming off of their first loss of the season against the Green Bay Packers, and they were 7-1. best record in the NFL, and they looked like the best team in the NFL, to now we're here, and what has, conscrewed ever since. I don't know. But, Cardinals, it is what it is, Seahawks, they are quietly one of the best teams in the NFC. Geno Smith is quietly having an MVP caliber season, 15 touchdowns to 4 picks. He's doing very well. And, it is what it is. Seahawks, they're using the running game. Their defense has improved. And, this team just looks really, really good. All right? And who would have thought that after they traded Russell Wilson earlier in the offseason? Rams versus Buccaneers. This was absolutely, by far, probably the most boring game I've ever seen. And I didn't even get my pick right. It was a 13-9 game. It was a defensive slugfest. And then Tom Brady, in the last 44 seconds, drove the Buccaneers down the field, not even in 40 seconds. He drove them down there in like 30 and scored the game-winning touchdown to win 16-13. The Rams' defense collapsed at the wrong possible time. Just terrible. But nonetheless, got that one wrong as well. And then Titans versus Chiefs. That game showed a lot more about Patrick Mahomes' heart than it did about, really how good this Chiefs team is. The defense played well, but again, they were going up against Malik Willis, who clearly he needs some time to, he needs some time. All right, so let him redshirt. Sorry, but they just need to redshirt him. Just let him redshirt for the rest of the year. Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback. Yeah, I promise. I promise that it'll work out. Nonetheless, they were up for most of the game. That defense was just, dominating Mahomes and frustrating Mahomes. And then Mahomes basically, that drive at the end of the regulation where he tied it at 17, that was all on him. That was all Patrick Mahomes. And that is why he's MVP to me. But you can literally pull up the meme of that one, big guy talking about, that's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT. You can literally pull that meme clip up, and that's me. That's why Patrick Mahomes is MVP. It's just what he does. But nonetheless, it was a very entertaining game. And we finally got our first, primetime game that actually looked pretty good. Now, while we were on the topic of talking about primetime games that were really good, Saints-Ravens was not very good. The Ravens just physically, dominated the Saints in this game and showed why they are the more physical team. This was the type of game that I thought was going to happen between the Dolphins and the Bears, but that's not what we had. these two games were literally switched. Dolphins versus Bears was supposed to be the game that the Bears showed how physical they were, and beat the Dolphins. And this Saints-Ravens game was supposed to be the high-scoring affair. But that wasn't the case. I was wrong. And we still finished with a 7-6 record in our 13 predictions. But, like, it is what it is. I mean, the NFL is kind of unpredictable, especially this year. But we'll try to do better on our predictions. But, that's it. This video was ridiculously longer than it should have been. That being because I was literally having a whole freaking, like, rant about the Raiders and how bad they've been this year. But nonetheless, I'm ending the video now. That has been my time. Like, subscribe, and this is NFL Thoughts out.